3 tips to eating less. How do you eat less? Another interesting question. Another question which I'm going to give you a different answer for. Actually, no, I'll give you some good answers. But number one, no, this isn't number one. This is just how do you eat less? Is stop putting food in your mouth. Now, who's responsible for putting the food in your mouth? Who's responsible for walking into the kitchen, grabbing the food, and putting it in your mouth, chewing it, and then swallowing it? Unless someone is in control of your body and doing that, stop eating less. Yeah, and I know, how revolutionary. Thanks, Jordan. Tell us to stop eating less. But far out. Get a grip on your life. Take some responsibility and take some control. I mean, what are you, a fucking 4-year-old that doesn't know how to feed themselves? There is an argument that there are eating disorders where people can't control their eating habits. I can respect that. I can respect that problem. But at the same time, unless you've been officially diagnosed with that problem, I don't believe you have any leg to stand on. You're walking into the kitchen, taking food and putting it in your mouth. Stop fucking around and stop bullshitting yourself if that's harder than we're saying it is. Yeah. And look, with all due respect to everyone listening, and even to myself, because you're guilty of just resisting temptation. It is hard to resist temptation sometimes. That's why I'm making this video, because I want to talk about 3 things you can do to help resist that temptation. But at the end of the day, if you're relying on these 3 things to get you through, it's not going to work. If you're looking for external things to stop you from eating yourself, it's not going to work. You can stop putting the food in your mouth, or you can learn how to enjoy a bunch of food and not feel guilty about it. That's a much easier answer as well. But if you're finding that you feel like you're eating okay, but you're putting crap food in your mouth and you're not establishing a calorie deficit, then there's 3 simple things you can do. One is start tracking your food. Yeah, and just start tracking exactly what you're putting in your body. What gets measured gets managed. So if you're measuring your food intake, you're measuring that against what your calorie maintenance should be, your calorie deficit should be, you're going to stay in control, or at least take a step towards staying in control of what you're having. When you know that you should be eating a certain amount per day to lose weight or to hit your goals, then you're more likely to stick to it if you're tracking it. Yeah, and it's just a bit of incentive, just a bit of motivation, just a bit more of a leg to stand on. Yeah, start tracking your food, you'll immediately become more accountable. Yeah. Number 2, increase your fat and protein intake. All right, much higher satiating effect than carbs. Protein is the highest satiating effect of all the macronutrients. If you have high protein meals, high fat meals, you're going to feel a lot fuller. You won't get that massive insulin spike from a high carb meal. That doesn't mean go low carb, it just means you have a more balanced meal, increasing your fats and protein, which most people are under eating. You're going to feel fuller throughout the day. You're not going to have cravings to eat crappy food. When you eat sugar, when you're eating processed junk, when you're eating crap food, high carb food, it's just reigniting those cravings. Yes, that's point number 2. Increase your fats and proteins. That will give you a massive benefit, especially breakfast and lunch. If you do that, then you're not going to be getting to the afternoon and you'll be starving and picking out on junk food. And then that brings us to the last point. The same thing. You don't need to be having 6 small meals throughout the day. You can do that if you want. There's no evidence suggesting that's better. That's just a myth. But I suggest to all our guys, have 4 meals a day. 4 even large meals throughout the day, spread out. So if you're having 2,500 calories per day, that's 625 calories per meal. It's a fairly good meal. High fat, high protein ratio will be really good for you. Yeah, breakfast, lunch, afternoon meal, dinner. What that does is you're waking up, you're having a full meal at breakfast. When it comes to 9, 10 o'clock, you're not starving and eating on junk. Yeah, so that means you can survive till lunch. And when I say survive, you should be pretty full. You don't want to be in a position where you're starving yourself. Lunchtime, you have another big meal. You weren't even close to being hungry. You might have started getting hungry. You have another big meal. At this point, you're pretty full. Yeah. Comes to the afternoon, you have another big meal. For a lot of guys, they're going, I can't even eat anymore. I'm so full. Yeah. Comes to dinner, you're finishing off that meal, and that's it. You're done for the day. Compared to what most guys do, they might not eat breakfast, have a big lunch because they're so hungry. It's a high carb meal because they're absolutely starving. They make poor choices. They come home from work. It's 5 o'clock. They're absolutely starving because they've had 1 meal for the day. They pig out on everything possible. They have dinner at 8 p.m., pig out again, go to bed. You're full from your massive amount of food that night. The next morning you don't feel like breakfast. It's a bad cycle to be in. Yeah, 4 even meals throughout the day can fix that cycle. So 3 things to help you eat less. 1, track your food. 2, higher protein and fat ratios. 3, 4 even meals throughout the day, keeping you full the whole day. And then to tie all that in together, you've just got to stop yourself eating less. Yeah, I know I was a bit aggressive at the start, but this is a topic that I just find it really funny because it's a choice. You know, I'm happy for people to argue with me against that. That's fine, but it's a choice. You know, you're grabbing the food, you put it in your mouth. No one's grabbing your hand and doing it. If someone's doing that, you know, I'll report them to the police or something. If your hand is doing it out of your control, I would get the hand surgically removed. All right, I'm taking the piss here, but you know, it's that simple. Yeah, and if you want to talk about eating disorders, then that's a topic for a different video. We're not talking about that in this video. All right, thanks for listening. Never know how to finish off these videos, but I'll sign out. See you next time.